Hello, you're listening to Questboard, a podcast where we make up random side quests. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Tiffany. And just so you know, we are not professional writers in any way, shape, or form. At least we don't claim to be. We just really like tabletop RPGs, and we do this for fun.
That's right. And this is Questober.
Ooh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we try to make this as scary as possible, but, you know, we want to make sure it's actually legit good horror stories.
Yeah.
And I think last year we tried to do some Eldritch horror. If you remember, we made like Eldritch zombies.
Oh, yeah. Was that
You don't
Night
remember
of,
that, do you?
Night of the Eldritch Dead?
Oh my God, you remembered.
Because it has a catchy title.
Yes, and it was based off a movie title. But we said, oh, we have no idea because we don't do horror and we don't know H.P. Lovecraft.
Not the slightest.
I have brought an expert.
Woo!
It is my friend who actually has provided a voice for us for the leprechaun's name. I can't think of it right now.
My memory doesn't go that far back. What was that episode called?
It was one of our early stuff.
Very early.
I think it's like Ain't Over Until It's Clover. That was the name of the episode.
Yes, it is.
That was like way before. But anyways, I have my friend Tyler here.
Hi, guys.
So, what is your credentials?
So my credentials are I listen to a lot of horror things. No,
That's already more than us.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed a lot of horror works, whether it be movies, books, games, stories, anything that goes bump in the night really has been fascinations of mine. And so I've read a bunch of H.P. Lovecraft stuff, a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, things like that. And, you just kind of asked me about this not that long ago, and I've just kind of been on a Lovecraft binge since. And, I do overnight work where I drive around a lot, so I'll just throw on the video of somebody reading the audiobook and listen to that throughout the night.
And before people who's listening questions it, he's not dressed in all black. He's actually wearing red.
Yeah, I'm not an emo guy.
He's not an emo. Actually, speaking of you playing games, there is, you recorded this, of you playing Little Nightmares and having me watch the entire playthrough and me being the whiniest person ever.
Oh,
being uncomfortable.
He was a little wuss. It was pretty great.
It's worse when I'm in control because then there's no movement or forwardness because I'm like, I don't want to go down the hallway. I turn into the whiniest person when I play horror games because I don't like it so much. Actually, I have a question for both of you guys. I had this one prepped for our beginning banter. All three of us are 90s kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch a show as a kid called Fact or Fiction? Do you remember that show?
That is tickling some deep repressed memory.
In the beginning, it's this old guy that's like walking through like a museum kind of room, and he talks about like the scenarios, and the entire show is where they show like the reenactment scenes of like stories, and then at the end he's like, this one actually happened, this one did not.
I think I have seen that show. Something similar is happening, like my 90s repressed childhood of drinking out of the garden hose and all that just is starting to flood back a little bit.
Well, I was thinking about for like the beginning banter for this episode was talk about like, are you afraid of the dark or anything like that, and then that memory jumped into my head. I remember specifically there was one episode where like a scenario was where a woman was like talking to this one cat owner that she says, hey, I have a cat and all that stuff. And she would like start petting the air and say, hey, the cat is right here. And the woman's not seeing anything. And she's like, starts playing around. I was like, oh, let me, do you want me to take your photo? And she's like, yeah, sure. It takes several photos. And then she develops it. This is film camera days, by the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when the photos develop, it actually shows her holding a black cat.
Oh, shoot.
That's creepy.
And at the end, I remember the guy's like, this story was true. And I'm like, what? As a kid, I was like, that makes me feel uneasy.
That's terrifying.
Alongside with like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I remember that one episode specifically for that where a kid was like playing a radio while cleaning up a basement. And every time he turned on the radio, a huge doll that was like as tall as him would come out of like the closet. And just like, it was clearly obviously like a roller system on the bottom.
Yeah.
But because it's 90s production.
Yes.
And it would say, come play with me. And then just like every time the music stopped, it would just roll back in. And every time he starts it up, it does it. And I remember that was the episode that I stopped watching that show.
And this is when Brandon discovered his fear of anything slightly scary.
Oh,
His
no.
fear of
that
fear.
that was when
Fear
I was
itself.
afraid of Jumanji.
Jumanji
Oh,
was
such a good one.
good and traumatizing at the same
It
time.
was a scene where in the beginning where bats flew out the fireplace because my family had a fireplace
Mhm.
growing up, and I was worried bats were gonna fly out of there.
My issue with
Oh,
that one was
man.
the mosquitoes. Because I step outside in the right season and I get swarmed by mosquitoes. They absolutely love me. And seeing a mosquito that big, I'm like, oh, that thing would make a beeline straight for me.
My childhood like video of nightmares was I was flipping through the channels and
The Changels?
the channels.
Chancels.
The Studio Ghibli movie, the Princess Mononoke.
That one is pretty terrifying.
Oh man,
I love it.
I didn't get to
So-
see that until college. I never actually saw it as a kid.
Yeah, I was like
Aw.
8 or 9 years old, and I flip through the channels and I see them fighting in the woods, and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And it was, I mean, spoiler warnings, but it was at the end where the wolf or the lady wolf thing was dying, and its head like rips free of its body and flies at the lady. Yeah, that haunted some memories and dreams and life for a while.
And here I was thinking it was the giant tentacle monster.
Yeah, no, I was oddly okay with that one. that one didn't. That
And
one
that
didn't
led
hurt
down
me.
to the
And now
H.P.
Eldritch
Lovecraft.
Horror, yeah.
Oh, okay. That explains a lot,
That was
actually.
my tentacle monster start.
Okay.
You know, what was funny? When I was a kid, I remember watching this, and as an adult, I'm like, I don't know how this didn't creep me out. Did you
Mhm.
guys ever watch Invader Zim?
Oh, gosh, yes.
No, I never watched
It was
that
a
one.
90s cartoon, and I actually read the comic by the same author who created that called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. It's
Mm.
a
I've heard
graphic
of that.
novel. Great graphic novel.
Mm.
Same art style as the show. But that one I watched again as an adult, and Invader Zim has some really disturbing stuff. Like there's an episode where Zim is in school and they're like going through a health checks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm going to be discovered as an alien because I don't have any organs like a human.
Oh, jeez.
So then he starts stealing organs from every kid in school.
And replacing them with random objects.
Oh, good.
And then at the end, he's like a grotesque, like a exploder from Left 4 Dead, like
Oh.
shaped
He's just
thing,
a
and it's
meat
filled
bag.
with organs, and his like intestines like out of his mouth, like one intestine tube.
Oh, man.
And I'm
Doesn't
like,
he
how have I
slurp
not
it?
scred up as a kid?
Doesn't he slurp it back in like a
Yes,
noodle
he
at some
does.
point?
The only thing that saves that is the art style.
Yeah.
But how's a kid like sees that? And
No.
my mental barrier like it bounced right off of it. I
That's
have no idea.
why it takes a lot to really weird us out now, is because we grew up with that.
Yeah, or like Fantasia and the Hall of the Mountain King, or
Oh.
the Black Cauldron, and
like
literally
Chernobog.
the entire movie, The Black Cauldron.
Chernobog was actually my favorite part of Fantasia.
That one was great.
He's so-
I always remember that whole section where he just flies out or like comes out of the mountains, where
Yeah.
he's spread out in the thunder and lightning.
It's very epic, and it's a great song.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it. But that's the stuff that we grew up with as like normal. This is okay.
Kids these days.
Right.
So sensitive.
We got
Okay.
the sensitivity beaten out of us.
Metaphorically.
Well, we'll try to make it somewhat toned back from our childhood for this quest, but we
or
are
go
going to,
full 90s kid on it. You never know.
or maybe depends
Yeah,
on how
we'll
we
see.
feel. So
So the enemy's a Furby.
Oh, gosh. I was just talking to someone the other day about how Furbies have scarred me.
Yep. They're evil little things.
I had 3 of them.
they'll
Why?
wake up in the closet.
One of them
without
never
any
actually worked.
notification.
I just played with his corpse.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was a baby Furby, too.
That's even better.
Yeah,
How did you not grow up to be a serial killer?
I'm
She
special.
did.
She did, as far as I know. Yes.
Yeah, you don't know this.
Okay, we actually have a quest to make, so
Oh, wait, what?
we have our handy list for our Questober prompts. Tyler, you are good. Roll for us.
Please roll a D8.
Number 4.
The one number I told you not to roll.
Okay.
Now here's the question. Up or down?
Let's go down.
Down. So number 3. The party comes across a traveling circus. The puppets are crying.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's the entire prompt. Okay, so here's your...
Is there anything about H.P. Lovecraft about like animated objects or anything like that?
Let me throw a warning in there to anyone who is afraid of clowns. Now is the time to stop listening, because most likely clowns will be mentioned and talked about in detail.
If you have a fear of clowns, you're fine. We didn't go in that direction. Well, it depends. Anything for H.P. Lovecraft?
So, the closest thing they have is in the story The Mound. They talk about this underground society that split off from humans at the start. So it's like one group of humans stayed and lived on the surface. One group of humans went underneath, and the ones that went underneath, they kind of stayed with their. Let me take a step back. So in Lovecraftian,
In the beginning.
in the beginning, there was nothing. But no, so in the beginning of Earth's history in Lovecraftian horror, the idea is that there was things here before us, like long before us, that were extremely capable and like mastered time travel and things like that.
Are these the ones they call the Great Old Ones?
Yeah, so there's the Great Old Ones, there's things called the Migos, there's the Shoggoths.
Oh, I've heard that word.
Yeah, those are the
I know things.
The Shoggoths are the non-Euclidean, very amorphous, the thing styled monster that just has it. All it is writhing mouths and eyeballs and stuff. It's just a killing machine. But one of the things was that we are descendants from a set of beings dropped off by Cthulhu, the big octopus-headed sea monster thing. It's kind of our progenitor in Lovecraftian horror. And so when we first got brought here, we had abilities that we lost over time.
Aww.
Because of that separation, because the ones that stayed underground, they stayed closer to Cthulhu, they followed the mythos, they did the sacrifices and all that kind of stuff, and lived the lifestyle of the old ones. But the people on land didn't, and so they created that divide, and that's why we up here can no longer do those fun things. But the ones underground can like communicate telepathically. They can reanimate the dead and get them to be like it's a combination of mechanical and bioengineering where they kind of reanimate the corpse, but they can control it and stuff. So maybe if the things are crying or something, maybe it kind of plays into that where they're not fully corpses, but they're something that was a new style of slave or something, where they capture it, they beat it to where it can't fight back, and then they install things in it and control it like a puppet.
Okay, are you thinking maybe like, because we could deviate a little bit.
Right.
We can, I would suggest like to help us with some leeway of creative liberties. Are you thinking like possibly like if they insert souls into dolls and all that stuff? What happens if this is like the ringleader is one of the beings that's from underground that has these capabilities come to the surface, and then like basically this is like a slave circus where a lot of it's just worked by puppets that like souls have been put into in like to work and all that stuff as an act of slavery.
Sure, you could do it like that too, and kind of play into it where it would work into the campaign society almost, where this is a traveling circus, but people are known to go missing around this circus. And what he's actually doing is he's bringing these puppets for the show or whatever, but all the people that are going missing are either new puppets for the show or being delivered to that underground society to be as like a flow of corpses for new workers.
So a slave trade.
Yeah.
Also, I'm thinking of Five Nights at Freddy's.
I was too. I didn't want to bring it in,
new
but yeah.
dead kid. Now it's into this animatronic.
It's like, do the puppets
Let's make a bunny.
feed on people?
Yeah, they could.
I was thinking, like, are all of the animals in the circus also like this somewhere between zombie animatronic type
kind of
thing?
Yeah, no, that would be kind of cool.
It'll be very eerie and all that stuff.
Very Uncanny Valley.
Maybe it's like they play it off and they say it's a paranormal circus and that all of its costume makeup and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's actually dead rotting corpses or like
but really they just play
people,
it off.
But they play it as a fake thing, yeah.
Come see the great zombie circus.
What if it's like the bodies are actually
Hide the truth
animated
behind the lie.
dead, but they took the souls from that body and put it in the puppet. So the puppet and the spirit of the puppet sees its own body being marionetted. So it sees its body still working, and it has to work as a puppet. You know what I mean?
Hey, twice the profit.
You could also
twice the workforce.
Spin it, You could also spin it like the ringmasters only making people go missing that were like terrible clients or terrible customers, or like
ruins his show.
Yeah, or like hecklers ruin the show. Like
so all the Karens.
Yeah, pretty much. People that were a problem for the establishment. I don't want to stop
him now. He's putting in God's work here.
Honest, like, and the party would have that moral problem right there. You'd be like, he's actually helping the world, getting rid of these people, but he's doing it in a horrible way.
It's not exactly the best way to get rid of people.
My only request,
still positive.
My only request is that the lion has the face of that one bad taxidermy lion.
Oh boy,
that smiling face.
Wait, what?
Have you ever seen the picture of that one really badly taxidermied lion?
No.
I will show you later because it's hilarious.
It's bad.
Okay. You'll show it to me afterwards.
Maybe you could totally include that. Like the party gets to the circus, they get seated or something, and they're watching the show, and then somebody that has like a high enough passive perception can roll a perception or an insight check. Be like, man, that lion's face does not look right.
And that would definitely be a good trigger. Like, wait a sec, there's something wrong here.
Yeah,
lions don't
alive,
look like
not
that.
Quite alive.
Side note, yes, we could make this into a D&D game system, but
or
very much centered in Call of Cthulhu.
Right.
I do know that for Call of Cthulhu, it's spot hidden.
Yeah.
For their perception checks.
Right.
I'm currently listening to a podcast where they're playing with Call of Cthulhu game system. That's how I know this.
Mm-hmm.
You've learned things.
I know.
There's also that other system that Matt Mercer's team put out called Ocula Obscura.
Candela Obscura.
Candela Obscura. That's the one.
I haven't looked into that one.
It's pretty cool. I mean, you just use 6-sided dice for the whole thing, but you have different skills like what was it? It was like you have physicality as one skill. You've got sneakiness as one skill. You've got like perception of occult things as one skill, and you roll the dice and you succeed, fail, or like grades of failure, like if you really fail or just kind of miss the mark. So it's kind of cool. I like the way that they did it.
And it's all about being creepy.
Yeah, and the entire story is supposed to be dynamic. Where
I do always like to learn about new RPG systems.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like a really easy one to get into too.
Yeah.
Where if you can roll a couple 6-sided dice, you can play. It's not like you have to do math. You don't have to.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're currently getting into Monster of the Week, because it's a very much more simple system.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Where you roll 2d6. It's 1 through 7 is a complete failure. Or 1 through 6 is failure, 7 through 9 is a partial success, and 10 to 12 is a critical success, and that's it. Doesn't matter what I say, that is the limitations, and it will always be that.
Got it. Yeah,
so it's quite nice.
Candela is kind of the same way. You've got critical failure is the 1. You've got standard failure is 2 and 3. Partial success is 4 and 5, and then critical success is 6. So
there you go.
It follows the same kind of guidelines, it seems.
Anyways, RPG system tangent over.
Right.
Right.
Even though I don't want to stop this ringleader, he sounds like a good guy. But is it going to be where we'll have the party attend the performance kind of thing?
Yeah, so maybe they could either they'll be in a tavern and they'll hear some people talking about a show coming to town that's all spooky and like, oh, have you heard the things that happen around this show? People go missing all the time. And
or
blah,
there'll
blah,
be
blah.
people that went to the show and talking about, oh, I saw the most impossible thing. There's no way a person could do that.
Right. And then the party will like have a weird feeling, or like, somebody passes some kind of a check in.
I mean, it could be a situation where like they're playing these carnival games, because carnival games are a thing before the actual performance.
Oh, yeah.
And they
just
see like
stumble across
like seeing like the backstage or like staff area and seeing the puppets crying, because that's a part of the prompt.
Yeah.
I have a visual question. Are they crying real tears, or are they crying?
It's creepier if it's real tears.
Or are they crying like a black sludge?
It could be like
Because
a
that's
Depends
good
on
and
their
creepy.
soul.
Or is
or
their
is it
makeup
just like
running?
a crying of blood kind of thing? Like
Oh shoot,
what-
that's creepy
Okay,
too.
because
creepier.
especially if it's using, if these are animated bodies.
I was gonna say,
or
scientifically
if they're still
speaking,
alive,
Well,
technically.
the bodies are going to be portrayed as like real people, real bodies,
Right.
but then there's the puppets that the souls are in. I feel like they keep selling the actual like husk bodies as still people. So if you're an
Mhm.
outsider and say you don't see that puppet is crying, you say that person is crying.
right?
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Scientifically speaking, though, in times of like extreme stress, humans do cry blood.
Yep, it can happen. It dilates the
This
blood
is one of
vessels
the
by your
another
eyes.
weird thing that's kind of creepy that you know about this.
It's in the Bible.
There's also some medical conditions
It's
where
still creepy.
there's also some medical conditions. Well, I forget the name of the actor, but he was in one of the James Bond movies, one of the more recent ones, as one of the bad guys, and
Oh,
like
shoot.
he would cry blood. It was actually something that actor deals with as an everyday thing.
Wow.
It's a legitimate medical disease where I think it was stress that triggers it, or
Yeah.
there's something specific that triggers it, and then he just starts crying blood.
So are we saying that the body husks cry blood?
Yeah, so maybe the
They're
body husks
extremely
can cry
stressed.
blood, and then the puppets can have what look like makeup tears or like fake tears, kind of like the FNAF mask, maybe.
Yeah.
or the doll.
What happens if like they do cry because obviously souls are sad and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and
Right,
the
right.
ringmaster painted it on, and so it makes it hard to see the tears, but they are still crying like real tears.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
okay.
good.
as a
Yeah.
cover up.
Yeah,
kinda
so the puppets are crying real tears because they're where the souls are.
Yeah,
And the bodies are crying the blood tears because
it's under great
it's
distress.
just blood.
Yeah.
because of the Cthulhu magic or whatever. The
Yeah,
dark
Yeah.
magic.
the cost of reanimation or control is too high on the body.
And maybe the bodies are also painted to try to hide it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he just passes it off as like the crying circus or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that could be the title of the circus, or like,
Yeah,
Like that he
or
just
that could
uses
be one
it.
of the acts is
That's the entire
crying
theme
dolls
or something
whatever.
like
Yeah,
that.
he just uses it as a theme because
a
it's
story
one
theme.
thing he can't control, but he just rolls with it to hide it.
Yeah,
Hidden in plain sight.
yeah.
And so then they do the carnival games and all that stuff. They know some of these things if they roll well enough.
Yeah, they'll notice that the tears aren't just painted on. There's actual
You see
tears
actual
too.
movement, so it's like real tears
Mhm.
Yeah.
on the wooden figurines or anything like that.
Mhm.
And then
They-
maybe they like see the animals getting loaded into the tent or something, and could pass a check there too.
Yeah.
Be like, wait a second, that thing doesn't move quite right. There's something going on
Mhm.
there. Or like maybe somebody that has divine sense or like some occult sensing ability
Yeah.
is able to get like that spidey sense tingle.
Or someone can just get a whiff of something undead
Yeah, that
if they can smell really good.
man, it smells like rotting in here. Weird.
Oh
for
yeah,
the
we found a
ambiance.
dead rat.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
The
like
health
dead
inspector
The
keeps
smell of
going
decay
missing
is
every
something.
year.
Your ticket comes with a dead rat right under your seat. Enjoy the ambiance.
you get a rat. You get a rat.
I was about to make that joke.
You get a corpse, and you get a corpse.
Beat you to it.
Anyways,
Okay, so they go and they notice these things. So the party wants to attend the circus, maybe.
Right.
And so they get a ticket and they go inside. And then what? Do they just kind of like watch the show and see it
I
being
think-
all weird?
I think the ringleader would be the only natural looking person.
Mhm.
So then that really throws it off. Like all these things are very like rigid animatronic or, like puppeteered kind of motions, except for the ringleader who actually acts like a normal person or moves
Would
like a normal
he
person.
at some point hold his hands up like a marionette?
Yeah, as a performance,
Yeah.
and then makes it more
Control?
exaggerated. And it's like, oh, it's a part of the performance.
Yeah, so he's pretending like all of his actors are dolls and things because they actually are, once again, hidden in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it could be like one of those anime trope-ish puppet things where like he's actually doing that, and maybe one of the characters can see a line, or like maybe
Like an actual string.
or like a wisp of smoke to make it's a string, but it's like a spiritual string or
Gotcha.
something, and
I-
he sees the tether.
I was also thinking maybe what happens if let's say not like a heckler, but let's say like one person has an obnoxious laugh in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Just like
Mhm.
loud cackle.
There's
or thing,
always one.
and you could see the irritation in the ringleaders, and then you could say, oh, you saw them in the tavern like before the show and all that stuff, and then they go missing, or someone like a family member's like, hey, this person's missing, and you recognize, oh, that was the person I saw.
Mhm.
Maybe not necessarily obnoxious laughter, because that's what the ringleader wants them to enjoy the show. Maybe this person is booing.
Yeah, or like making a ruckus to the people next to him that are trying to enjoy the show and
Yeah.
like throwing food at him or something.
They're just like an obnoxious drunk person who's just like, boo, do something better, throwing popcorn or something. And you noticed them earlier at the tavern drinking a lot.
Yeah, and causing a general problem there too.
And then they go missing, and then that leads to like, okay, something is happening, and all that stuff. That leads the party to hopefully want to investigate. If that was me, I'll be like, no.
Yeah,
Nope.
maybe like the next day or so, they'll find like a missing persons poster, and like his wife posted it.
Yeah.
And if they talk to her, she definitely looks like he beats her.
Yeah, like he's just not a good person.
He's
kind of thing.
definitely not a good person.
And you're like, oh, do we want to stop this ringleader?
Exactly. It becomes a question of morals at that point.
So you could do it that way, where like they find the wanted or the missing poster or whatever and recognize them and go and chat with them. What if when during the show, like the person is getting more and more obnoxious, becoming more and more of a hassle for the crew and the patrons, and then the ringleader ends up adding them to the show, like has two marionette puppets walk out there and grab the person and walk out into the...
There's always an audience member that gets brought into the show.
And they
people
do
think
that.
it's a part of the show.
Yeah.
And it could be like one of those the mascot things where they like eat a cheerleader or something, and then they walk off the field and then spit the cheerleader out kind
or
of thing.
Or they put him in a box and make him magically disappear.
Yeah, and that's how the person goes missing, is it happens right in front of everyone, but they're like, it's just a show, haha. So it
and maybe then they have someone like dressed up like him, reappear and go back and sit down where he was, but it ain't him.
Yeah, and then during the party's investigations of everything, maybe they find that person's corpse as one of the marionette dolls, and that's how they make the final connection. That it's all together.
Like, hold up, I recognize that drunk.
Yep. That was the one from the show.
That's a punchable face. I've seen it before.
I wanted to punch
that nose
face.
Anywhere. I've imagined it sideways so many times.
I think that's...
Yeah, so is there any other creepy thing we could think of? Either more creepy stuff that we could think of for the circus, or how will the party confront this ringleader? Actually, do we want to provide a name for this ringleader?
Oh, hold up. Let me look at my obnoxious
Do you know any Cthulhu-based
list.
names, Tyler?
So when it comes to the worshippers of the cults, they're always just regular people. So the name would be very plain.
Back to Tiffany
simple.
then.
Yeah, the name of the cultists are very simple. It's only the deities and monsters and stuff that got
John
weird ones.
Smith.
I'm going for Thomas Schroeder, but it is spelled really fun.
I kind of like Schroeder as...
It's very close to a Schrodinger.
Yeah.
Is he a puppet or is he not?
Exactly.
It gives that scientist kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Thomas is spelled Tomasz.
Wait,
Thomas.
Spell that again, because that just broke my brain.
Tomasz.
Who names their kid that?
The same people that name their child Absidy, but it's spelled ABCDE.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Wait, is that legit?
That's
name?
a legitimate thing.
I've heard the Ashley.
Oh, God.
You know Ashley, right?
I've seen that one plenty of times.
Leigh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're getting old. We're becoming the boomers that complain about new generation.
Back in my day,
I wasn't going to say it.
people's names were normal.
Last name is spelled Schroeder. Thomas
So yeah, that's pretty
Schroeder.
close.
Yeah, it's very close to Schrodinger, which might be
A derivative.
a good like clue to the
To the
party. Be like, something's up with this guy. Is he alive or is he
Well,
dead?
to be fair, parties don't look that deep into names. It's mostly for the DM.
I know, because I made the BBEG's name in my campaign. Every single part of his name actually meant something, and
We
no
can
one.
never remember that full name, though.
Oh, no.
I know.
Womp womp.
I
Yeah.
named my character after someone who actually betrays the group, who betrayed the group, and they didn't even know.
That's true.
Oh no.
It was great. I was really proud of that name.
I know. You didn't get to tell anyone but me
No,
until
I
the very
told the
end.
group afterwards.
Well, afterwards, yes, but
Mhm.
the whole time you're waiting for them to put two and two together, and they didn't
No,
even.
they will
They
never.
I
just
literally,
didn't.
even at one point, gave a clue to at least one of our party members, saying, "Oh man, there's got to be something behind the name on that one."
No, I.
There's
I
literally
remember.
a website called Behind the Name that will tell you the meaning of names,
Oh, that's awesome.
and that's where I got his name from. Is looking it up on Behind the Name.
You
and,
could hear the frustration behind Tiffany's voice on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how's the party going to confront Thomas? Is that gonna be a special session? Is it like how like a
I mean,
scenario?
I guess it depends on how the party goes about things, because it could be that they wait for the next show so that it's like the climactic battle or whatever could be a part of the circus act almost.
Oh,
Like they're
shoot.
trying to hide that they're killing this dude because maybe murder is not acceptable where they're at. So since he has nothing against him and they have no like concrete proof, because that's another thing about Cthulhu stuff or like Lovecraftian stuff is some cultist or another will start doing something. They'll start hurting people. They'll start stealing things or whatever. But then at the end of the story, all of the documentation has gotten burned, or the artifact has gone missing because someone else happened across it, or like it was mysteriously stolen the night or the next evening, or the body dissolved after it happened. So maybe it could be that kind of a thing where the information just kind of goes missing.
Well, here's a good question. How is Thomas doing this? Does he have some sort of mysterious artifact? Or is one of the trailers that goes around with the circus actually a mad scientist lab?
Well, I
Oh,
thought we
yeah,
talked
it could
about
be.
Thomas being a person from that underground that's still closer to the dark one and all that stuff that has those
Yes.
powers.
Yes, but
think-
how is he doing it?
Yeah, I think she's meaning more like, is this supposed to be like a voodoo spiritualist kind of thing that he's doing it? Or is it that he does have Johnny in the back with the hammer, like just cramming rods into people's bodies to make them be controlled? And I think the trailer would be a kind of cool way to do that, because that could be another thing that the party comes across
Yeah, if they
during
start.
the investigation or whatever. And maybe that's what kicks it off, is they see this trailer with just torture devices and stuff on the walls and like rib cages and maybe a person that's still being kept alive that starts talking to them, but it's just like their torso and they've got their spine hanging down or something.
I wasn't going that far. That's fantastic.
Gotta go into the details when it comes to horror.
Yes, you really do. You got to make it definitely scary,
I was-
especially if they can't see it. They can only hear it.
I was also imagining like the confrontation on Thomas would be like if it's in the center of the 3-ring circus kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then is just being surrounded and enclosed by all the actual corpses or puppets and all that stuff during the fight, basically.
Yeah.
It's just a
Oh,
huge
like-
swarm, kind of like overwhelming kind of despair.
Maybe
fight.
all the puppets drop down and he's like, watch the feebleness of the attempts of man to overthrow me or something. And
What
like
if-
all of them are crying around in the audience and they fill the pews or whatever.
Or what happens if that's like the
One of
the
the lair
puppets
actions.
with the souls are in the audience, but then the actual meat husk puppets of the bodies are the ones that comes in to attack.
Mhm.
Oh, shoot.
And then the party gets to choose whether they're quote unquote knocking him out and is trying to save the bodies to try and reconnect them, or just
Oh, and you could hear all the puppets crying in the audience.
They're, like,
audibly
audibly-
crying.
and every time you hurt one of them, some one of them
Cries
gets
out in
louder.
pain.
Oh, no.
You hear in the audience a specific cry of a little girl get louder or something.
Oh, yeah. Don't hit him with the little girl.
Well, that's how you pull the heartstrings.
You should also give the party a chance to like find some of the costumes or something and maybe attempt to disguise themselves
To
as-
hide.
like circus members to try to sneak in,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's how they can find themselves on stage.
Yeah, just sneak on to the event. That's how they were trying to get close to the ringleader. Maybe
Yeah.
they couldn't find another way.
What they
to get
didn't
close to him.
realize though is that he is literally in control of everything and will know at a moment, like just at a glance, hey, that's not mine.
Yeah, right.
Move hand up. You're
Like,
not jiggling.
Hey,
The
hey,
jiggler's broken.
who you?
Who
Yeah,
are you?
he hits his hand like a remote for the battery. Come on, work.
He's
He's
like,
trying
why
to
isn't
use
this
the
thing working
clapper
here?
and it's not going.
Maybe it's because he's got some sort of like bracelets or something that helps him control.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
that would
that's
work.
what he's like, hey, why isn't this thing working?
Oh, what happens if like that bracelet has engraving of like spider webs, like the webs and strings and all that
Oh,
stuff? Like that kind of
definitely.
engraving.
Cool.
And that's the strings.
Yeah, that's to represent the strings.
Maybe for the fight, it could be like that style of jewelry that has the bracelet and then it has the chains that go up to rings on
Oh,
the
I've
hand.
seen those.
I actually
So-
have one of those, and it looks like
so-
all of the Infinity Stones.
So what if
Nice.
a part of his regalia or whatever is those bracelets that are all spiderwebby and you can't see at a distance if it's spiderwebs or chains connecting to rings,
Yeah.
and each of those rings controls a body. So during the fight, you'll have 10 enemies that are with you, and then every time one of the rings, the stone will go dull or something. Or like you can
It
choose
shatters.
to, yeah, or you can choose to attack him and damage his, and like target his hand specifically.
Ooh.
And then if you like pass a higher AC check or like, skill check of some kind to do the damage, then it will just kill off one of the
I
entities.
pull out my shotgun.
Right.
Hold your hand out real quick and just
Just
like press it against the hand.
Yep.
So I'd like to use my mini nuke. Can I pull that one out of my pocket?
The Fat Man
Yeah.
from Fallout.
There we go.
Anyways, I think that's pretty much a solid quest. Creepy, disturbing.
Yes.
Has Cthulhu lore to it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's got the puppets.
Mm-hmm. And you can, another thing with the like I was talking about is the how everything goes missing or something. Maybe they never figure out exactly how he was doing it, or like he touches on as like maybe a continuation quest, something or other that somebody could follow afterwards.
His dying words could have been like, "You guys have fallen away from the grace of the great old ones," and just like basically
or like
a
he could
phrase
say
like that.
he could say one of the Cthulhu language things like Cthulhu relief Fatagan or something, and they have to look up what
Sanity
that means.
check.
Yeah, and then they have to figure out what that means or whatever, and that leads to a bigger quest where they start
What does that
unraveling the universe.
Actually, Tiffy, say your name backwards. It has that creepy essence to it.
You nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
That
read.
was
I
really
read.
good.
I practiced when I
Nice.
was little.
That's the only thing she could do, and I have reversed it, and she does say it's Tiffany
That's
when
funny.
you reverse it. Anyways, I think that was a solid quest, nice and creepy. Everyone's always afraid of circuses and puppets. Those are very no clowns,
Yeah. No,
So-
we can remove that.
All the
Uh,
puppets were dressed as clowns, just
but
for
still,
everyone's.
it still covers the marionette, the puppet kind of creepiness, and undead creepiness, circus creepiness.
Mm-hmm.
It checks off multiple boxes,
and
Mhm.
spiders.
Yeah.
somewhat.
And
It's
there's
not really.
a lot of
They're
it
mentioned.
leaves a lot of freedom for the DM to play with it too. Like, is the party experiencing nightmares or like migraines or weird thoughts or
Well, if they have a
voices?
migraine, they woke up with a bullet in their head.
right,
We talked about that before recording.
right.
Anyways, if you enjoyed this, please let us know if you put this in your campaign down in the comments of this video, or tweet us at QuestboardPod. How did your party react? How did they deal with Thomas?
Did they run out of the room screaming?
Did they just say no?
Did they
Just
join
noped
him?
out the situation.
Oh gosh.
Did they join him?
Yes, did they join him on stopping all the interrupting people of the world and made the world better?
He's the anti-heckler.
Let us know on either platforms. And if you have a suggestion of your own for our regular content, or possibly some creepy stuff for our next year's Questober, let us know on either platform. Tyler, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you.
And with that, I wish you all a good night.
And happy questing.
Bye.